Hey everyone, and welcome back to another movie review. Today I'll be reviewing another of my anticipated films of the year, and that's the new Robert Zemeckis film, The Walk. So The Walk is directed, produced, and the screenplay is written by Robert Zemeckis, one of my favourite film directors in Hollywood. He's made such classics as the Back to the Future trilogy, Forrest Gump, Castaway, The Polar Express, which is one of my personal favourites. I know not a lot of people love it. But anyway, this is his most recent film, and it came out last week. I just came back from the cinema from seeing it with my dad, and we saw it in 3D. So The Walk stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he plays Philippe, and he's a young Frenchman in the 1970s who's obsessed with high wire act. And ever since he was a kid, since he saw it at a circus, he's been obsessed with it, and he's had this real drive to just do the high wire walks, and every walk he does is getting higher and higher, and he's a real performer also, so it's not like he's just restricted to that. He can go out and do street performances. He's really good at juggling and playing with fire and things like that as well. So the film takes place in 1974, I think. It's based on the true story, and Philippe saw the Twin Towers, which were just recently being built in New York, so he pretty much thinks it's the perfect place to hang his wire. It's 412 meters high, I think, and there's a 140-foot gap between the two towers, and so he wants to set up his line there. Of course it's illegal, so he has to kind of spy on the people working in the towers for a couple of weeks leading up to when he's going to do the high wire act, and he's got to kind of figure out with his crew how he's going to kind of put the wire across the two buildings and how he's going to get away with crossing the wire. So this movie goes for about 2 hours, and I'd heard from a lot of people in reviews that the first hour is quite boring and not much happens, and you're kind of just waiting for the second hour, and then it kind of saves it. So I went in thinking that, but then I watched the movie and I was thoroughly entertained the whole 2 hours. It had a very fast pace to it, so it didn't feel long at all. It didn't feel like it drawed out at any point of the film. I thought the first half was just as strong as the second half. The visual effects were stunning. Of course, the Twin Towers not being there anymore, they made them just look beautiful and realistic, and just everything looked so real in this film. That's one of the things that's kind of terrifying, especially for someone who would be afraid of heights like my dad. Watching the film with him was quite funny, because when you're seeing the main character walking out on the wire, just the angles that they film him on, it's amazing to see. You see like almost from eyesight view angles, you see looking right down at the wire, and then the cityscape below, which is, you know, like half a mile below almost. And I think Robert Zemeckis was the perfect director for this film, because if you look back at his filmography, you see a lot of the visual effects he uses really up to date with like the era that he's filming in. So Back to the Future, when it was made, it probably looked fantastic, the special effects and everything like that. Forrest Gump has a lot of special effects in it that are kind of hard to recognise because it kind of suits so well with the background. And Flight, his last film in 2012, had some great visual effects with the plane sequence. Also, Alan Silvestri's score. He's the composer that's worked with Robert Zemeckis on pretty much all of his films. He's one of my favourite composers, and great soundtrack here. I really loved it. I heard a bit of it before going in to see the film and really enjoyed it, so that's another thing this film's got going for it, a good score. Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a fantastic job in a leading role. After seeing him in the trailers, I thought the accent might get a bit annoying and cliche, just that over-the-top French accent, but as the film progresses it kind of really suits the character, and you don't really even notice it by the end of the film. So The Walk was a highly entertaining film. I really enjoyed it. Definitely go see it. Even if you're afraid of heights, I think it'll be a really fun and entertaining film to see, especially in 3D. The time just seemed to fly by while I was watching it, so that's a good thing. It goes for just over 2 hours, I think. Great cast, great performances, great visual effects, great soundtrack, and great directing by Robert Zemeckis. One of the best films I've seen all year. I'm going to give The Walk an A-. So definitely go and check out The Walk if you haven't seen it yet. It's definitely one of the best films that come out so far this year. So thanks guys for watching this quick review of Robert Zemeckis' new film The Walk. Please subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews and Blu-ray updates and things like that, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.